She says, quote, "My date with Pablo was fantastic. I met him through a friend of mine, and he'd only been in Australia for 2 weeks when he asked me out. He really knew how to show a girl a good time. We went out for drinks, then dinner, and then a walk on the beach where he told me all about his family and dreams for the future. I thought he was just divine, and I loved his accent. It helped that he was also a gorgeous-looking man." The last thing she said right there, he was also a gorgeous-looking man. That is the only thing she cared about. She can give a damn about his family or his dreams or his dreams for the future. And to be honest with you, how could she? She'd only knew him for a few hours. So now the question becomes, well, why would she act like she cared about something she really didn't care about? Well, this is simple. She put up the banana gobbler shields, and women, listen, girls, women, they like to do this all the time. They would have us believe that the reason they had a one-night stand with pick a random guy is because she loves his energy. She loves his aura, right? Girls will never say, well, he was hot, I was horny, and that's why I slept with him a half an hour after I met him. Because they know it makes them look and sound promiscuous. So they point out a trait or a characteristic that has absolutely nothing to do with a sexual attractiveness or a sexual allure in a feeble attempt to make us think that they did something immoral for reasons that are moral. This is why I always advise my guys. Make sure you give a girl what's called plausible deniability when trying to get her back to your place. Because if you just say to her, hey, let's go back to my place and bang, she's going to be a little bit hesitant to do so, if not bounce on you altogether, because you're talking to her like she's promiscuous. You are addressing her as a banana gobbler. Now, you guys both know that she is promiscuous. You know what's on her mind. But in a woman's mind, if neither acknowledges the obvious, then it must not be true. So when you say, hey, I have an idea, let's go back to my place so I can show you my video collection about underwater basket weaving, she's going to say, OMG, that's a great idea. I've always wanted to learn about underwater basket weaving. You both know that you gonna wax that ass as soon as you toss your keys onto the coffee table. But so long as you don't explicitly and literally suggest it, she can tell herself and her friends, well, 1 minute we were watching a fascinating video about weaving baskets underwater, and before I knew it, I woke up in his bed this morning. I guess it just happened. By going out of your way to make sure that a girl doesn't feel like a slut, you give her permission to act like one without actually calling herself one. Anyway, this woman wanted to sleep with Pablo the minute she laid eyes on him, and it had nothing to do with his family or his dreams. This is typical snowflaking. She continues, he couldn't stop kissing me. Literally from the moment we left the restaurant, he was all over me. Not in a sleazy way, because I was so attracted to him I didn't mind. But he'd be kissing my face, my arms, my hands, my neck. Let me switch slides here. My neck, she says. There we go. He was just an incredibly sensual man, and the whole night felt like this amazing seduction. It's usually my policy, she says, to never go home with a man until I'd had at least 2 or 3 dates. Especially a man like Pablo, who wasn't like anybody I'd ever dated before. Oh boy, here we go. More snowflaking. More snowflaking. It's her policy not to sleep with a man until she's had at least 2-3 dates. I'm calling bullshit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the only one who rolled my eyes when she talked about her policy, because anybody who watches this show can spot that immediately. Okay, you guys, I often call you guys the most educated audience in the manosphere. This is for a very good reason. Okay? Now, there may be some women watching my show thinking, well, how do you know this isn't her policy? She could be telling the truth. No, she's not. And the reason we know she's not is because she felt the need to tell us. And the reason she told us is because she did the opposite of what she said she normally does. Women do this all the time, guys. Girls will drop their panties 45 minutes after we meet them, and then they'll say, well, I don't normally do this, and then they expect us to believe it. Girls who sleep with guys on the first date do it all the time. This is why it's so easy for them to do it all the time. So here's lesson number 1. Never believe a woman who says she has a policy or a rule about anything. When they say this out loud, it quite literally means the opposite. If a girl has a rule about not sleeping with guys on the first date, it means she sleeps with guys on the first date. A woman who says she has a policy against sleeping with married men does indeed sleep with married men.